snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books.
Hi guys, I am here today to do a book review, and the book I'm going to be reviewing is actually an anthology. This is Kaleidoscope. It is called Kaleidoscope Diverse YA Science Fiction and Fantasy, and this is an anthology that was originally published in Australia. I believe it actually won some prizes in Australia for the diversity that it showed. I picked this one up because Elizabeth from Books and Pieces was talking about it on her channel a while back, I think maybe even a year ago now, when it was around the time it was getting nominated for prizes, and it sounded really interesting because I thought YA is something I find I either really love or really hate. I don't tend to be middle ground too often. This collection was going to not only introduce me to some new authors who I hadn't read before, but it was also a chance to see some authors trying to do something diverse, trying to do something interesting within the SFF genres, and I liked that idea. This has a collection of quite a few different stories. Some of them I didn't like, but most of them I did, and overall I think this is a really solid collection with a lot of good ideas. I'm going to talk about some of the stories I most enjoyed, but there are a few others that I'm just not going to mention because I wasn't that into them. The first one I want to talk about is actually the first one from the collection, and it's called Cookie Cutter Superhero. It's by Tansy Rayner Roberts, who I'd never read anything by before. This one was a really enjoyable story. It was about these superheroes, people who were trying to emulate the ideas behind being a hero, what it meant, and I really liked the ideas within this. I thought it was a beautiful story that was quite short, quite snappy, quite to the point, but it also had some sentimental moments. I definitely enjoyed that, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next one I have to talk about is The Seventh Day of the Seventh Moon, and this is by Ken Liu. I have to say this one's beautiful. It's about lesbian lovers and it's about ancient stories. It kind of draws on like old folk fairy tales. I really like the ideas within this. It has some beautiful writing. There are some moments that were described in such detail, such beautiful detail, that I could vividly imagine them within my brain, and I was really enjoying all of the visuals, all of the emotion that was surrounding this story. I think there was a lot of wonderful moments within this, even though it's very short. So I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next one I have to talk about is called Signature. This one is a pretty cool short story about a bookshop, which is always a plus because we know that we like bookshops as readers. And it's about a bookshop where the landlord of the bookshop is not quite what they first appeared. They're actually a supernatural, and they have decided that they need to kick out the tenant. They're not really getting along and they want it for themselves, so they decide to set a really nasty, evil task and close down the bookshop if the people who are working there can't figure out the task. So it's kind of about that. I really liked it. I gave it a 3.5. The next one I read was one of the more beautiful and sad ones in the story, and this is called The Lovely Duckling, and it's by Tim Sussman. It's a wonderfully written story about a young girl who wants to escape from her father, and she just wants to fly free. She believes that she can fly. She believes that she is a bird trapped within a female body, and she just needs to be free. She needs to escape, and it was a really heartwarming, sensitive story about the need to get out, the need to be free, the need to kind of live what you believe you are and be true to yourself, and I really liked that one. Beautiful, it was moving, and I think it was certainly a story that some people can relate to. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next one I had to talk about is Kiss and Kiss and Kiss and Tell, and this one's by E.C. Myers. This one was a bit of a weird one, I have to admit. It was about drug use, and it was about a strange new drug that when you kissed someone, you could see the future that you would have with that person, and whether it would be a good future or a bad future, you could then decide whether to pursue the relationship or just not go anywhere near that. It's an interesting idea, a pretty crazy idea. 3.5 for that one. The next one I liked was Vanilla by Dirk Flinthart, and this one was all about inclusion of alien races and what counts as inclusion. How far do you have to go to include someone in your society, to bring them in, to kind of connect them with your society? I liked it a lot. I liked the ideas that it was focused on, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars because it was well written and the messages were really strong. The next one I really enjoyed was Krishna Blue, and this is by Shevtar Thakrar, and this one I liked a lot. It's about a young girl who discovers this extraordinary but very powerful power she cannot control, and it's about absorbing colours, and this gets her into some really quite dark, quite tragic circumstances that she just was not hoping for and cannot get out of. It's a bit of a sad story in the end, but I definitely loved the visuals and loved the way it was written, so I gave that one a 4 out of 5 stars. The next one I liked a lot was Happy Go Lucky, and this is by Garth Nix, who is an author that I've read multiple books by before. I read the Opossum series by him and I really enjoyed that when I was younger, so he's definitely an author that I thought I would enjoy when I read this. It's about a world where luck is everything, and certain people within society have a certain amount of luck that means they're in high society, or they just don't and they're in the low society. We follow a young girl who is about to be tested on her luck, but she believes that the test has been rigged, kind of get really upset about what happens when she comes back from her test, and so they have to go into hiding and come up with new avenues to live their life away from everything she believed she was going to get. I loved it a lot. It was 4 out of 5 stars from me. The next one I liked a lot was Ordinary Things, and this is by Viola Kaftan. And this one focuses on OCD tendencies, which is something I find very interesting. And it also focused on an abusive relationship, which I didn't love. I mean, I think it was handled well, and I think it was an interesting look at someone who was so stuck in a rut and so controlled by this other person in the relationship. I think it was interesting, but I also think it was quite a sad, nasty story at times. I think there's just a trigger warning on that for abusive relationships, so if that's something you don't like, maybe steer clear. But as a whole, I thought the story was well written, and I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars because I thought it was a fairly realistic look at what this situation might be like. The final one that I have to talk about is called Welcome, and this one is by William Alexander, and I really enjoyed this one. It's one that's probably one of the more fresh in my mind. It's about the idea of sailing between the moon and Earth, and every time you sail, a bit of your life kind of drains away, and you can only do it on one night or 2 nights of the year that are special nights. I think the ideas within this book would have translated into a longer fiction book really, really well. I could imagine this as a whole complete story with some other characters coming in and getting involved. It would have been really great to see that all fleshed out. As a short story, it still worked really well, but I would love to see the full story because I think there's so much more that could be done with that idea. I just thought it was a really captivating idea, so I gave that 4 out of 5 stars as well. On the whole, I'm giving this a kind of 3.54 stars out of 5 because I'm not really sure. I gave a lot of them 4 stars, but then there were also some that I just wasn't interested in and gave them like 2 stars. I haven't talked about them because there's not really much point. I didn't like them. As a mix of general diverse SFF in YA, I think this is a really good collection, and I do think it introduced me to quite a few new authors that I've never heard of, who I definitely want to read more by, so that's something really, really positive too. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you guys have read this, or if you are interested in picking it up, let me know. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me.